Tek Jegal or Jegal Tek from the God of High School Explained. 5 facts about Tek Jegal. Tek Jegal, who is one of the main antagonists during season 1 of God of High School, is strong and vicious. So here's a video dedicated to the greedy shark boy himself. Before we begin, just a quick spoiler warning. This video contains spoilers up until the end of season 1 of the anime and episode 112 of the webtoon. Now that's out the way, let's just get straight into it. Fact number 1. Tek Jegal is vicious, greedy, arrogant, and has a must-win attitude to life. He always seeks out strong opponents who he wants to defeat to prove his might and to prove himself as a winner. And he does whatever he needs to do in order to come out on top, whether that's in a fight or in life. For example, Tek Jegal was always thinking about revenge after losing to Ilpio Park because he can't accept being a loser and has to win against him. Another example is when Tek Jegal visited Seoul to check out who defeated Mensuk Gang to see if anyone is rivaling him. Another example is when he asked Borama to deal with the worthless ones so he could fight the strong ones. All these examples show that Tek Jegal is always seeking out strong opponents from among his peers who rival him. He wants to beat them and be the last man standing in order to prove his dominance and be the winner. I'll mention one more thing about the identity of Tek Jegal, but it's from beyond where the anime finishes, so for anyone who doesn't want to know, you can skip ahead by 10 seconds now. Tek Jegal is a descendant of the Jade Emperor, who is the King of Nox. Fact number 2. Tek Jegal is introduced into the series with a power level of 8, HP of 600 and a GP of 49. His fighting style is shown as Subtype Imitation. We see his power level jump to 13 against Nawada, the manga guy. It's not made clear in the webtoon why his power level jumps up, but one possible reason could be that when Tek Jegal fought Ilpio in the past, using his subtype imitation fighting style, he probably imitated the aspect of Ryuno Taekwondo that allows them to disguise their real power level using stealthy skills. Anyway, earlier on, Executive O mentions that there are 3 people whose power level jump up. After seeing Tek Jegal, we know the 3 are himself, Mori and Ilpio Park. When it comes to Tek Jegal's martial arts ability, he's definitely up there. In fact, when Mori sees him, he admits Tek Jegal has no weaknesses. He says the same about Ilpio Park. Plus, during a short class with Dewi Han, Tek Jegal gets in one weirdly positioned punch, but that is still enough to daze Dewi and make him feel lightheaded. His martial arts ability is up there, but it's not quite on the level of Mori Jin or Ilpio. What allows him to compete with them too is his borrowed power. When compared to Mori Jin and Ilpio Park on the borrowed power to genuine fighter skill, we have Mori Jin on one side as a genuine fighter, Ilpio in the middle with a balance of both, and finally Tek Jegal on the other end, relying mainly on borrowed power. Tek Jegal has the borrowed power of Megalodon, which is a shark, as well as Tam Avarice aka Greed, which can absorb other borrowed powers amongst other things. This is an aspect that the anime left out. In the webtoon we see Tek Jegal implementing all the different borrowed powers that he absorbs after defeating people. For example, he uses the mage borrowed power which he took from Jujok. He uses doppelgangers which he took from Peilong, the Aegis shield which he took from Hansung and others like the Golem. In the anime, all of these are replaced by generic looking monster things. Tek Jegal is the perfect character to showcase the power of Tam or Greed because it goes well with his greedy nature. Tek Jegal perfectly embodies the characteristics of Tam, and to top it off, Tek Jegal is even eaten by Tam in the end, a greed that knows no bounds. After it devours everything, in the end, it devours itself. This is one of the main roles of Tek Jegal in the series. Besides being a part of the plot surrounding the key and being a strong opponent for Mori to show off the insane power of his Monkey King form, an awesome battle between 2 opposites, a genuine fighter and a borrowed power user. Fact number 3. Tek Jegal's most significant relationship in the series is to Ilpio Park. In the past, Tek Jegal had a fight with Ilpio's cousin during a martial arts tournament, which led to Ilpio's cousin's leg being broken. Ilpio became angry with Tek Jegal and went after him, leading to Tek's complete defeat. It was such a one-sided beatdown that at the time, Tek Jegal even thought to himself that he could never beat Ilpio no matter how many times he tried. Though, during the GOH, he believes that he became strong enough to beat him and wishes to finally get his revenge. It's clear during the GOH that Tek Jegal respects Ilpio's strength, but then again, why wouldn't he? He did get completely destroyed by him. Ilpio was also the one that was there during Tek Jegal's final moments. After Tek was beat by Mori, Tam started to eat him up, knowing this was the end for him. At that time, Tek Jegal instinctively held out his hand, as if he was trying to ask someone for help. When he noticed what he was doing, he basically felt kinda stupid, and pretty much accepted his own fate. but still had a sad look on his face. Before he can pull back his hand, Ilpio comes back and grabs it. At that point, Tech seems to lose all reservations. He pulls his hand free, smiles and tells Ilpio to have a nice life. The other really significant relationship Tech Jegal had was with his dad, but before I talk about him, let me quickly mention his mum. Tech Jegal's mum leaves him with the man who becomes his adoptive dad. This is when he was still very young. His mum gave him away to pay off her debts, so basically she sold him off. When Tech asks his mum if she was going to stay, she replies that she's been waiting for this day for a long time and leaves. But interestingly, before leaving, his mum says to him, "Enjoy your life," which is the exact same line Tech Jegal says to Ilpio before he dies. It's kinda sad when you think about it. Anyway, Tech Jegal's adoptive dad taught him that all that matters in the world is power and being a winner. Even if you want things like family and love, you need power to have it. Win through any means necessary. That's where his must-win and greedy attitude comes from. His dad even says that people like his mum are losers. When he gets a bit older, Tech Jegal follows his dad's teachings and kills him with a pillow over his face, allowing Tech to inherit his father's giant company, JP Group. He donated a portion of his newfound wealth to Nox and in return gained Tam Avarice aka Greed, meaning his power grew even further. In the anime, Tech Jegal kills his dad after receiving the power of Tam, and he kills his dad using Tam. Considering that, I think Tech Jegal seems a lot stronger as a character in the webtoon, since everything he gets with his own hands. In the webtoon, he kills his dad with his own hands, takes over the company through that, and ultimately gets the power of Tam because of those actions. In comparison, in the anime, Tech Jegal receiving Tam seems like a random handout more than anything else. And he only kills his dad after getting the power, making it seem as though he couldn't do anything without the help of Nox, and there's no mention of his dad's company. Anyway, another guy that Tech Jegal fought with in the past, sometime before the GOH, is Mansuk Gang. I should mention that this was before Mansuk learned ITF Taekwondo. Obviously, Tech Jegal completely dominated him and even made him beg for his life. After Tech Jegal hears that Mansuk Gang lost to someone, he goes to the capital to see who he lost against, and he finds out it was none other than Mori Jin who defeated Mansuk, so he goes to check that out. He witnesses the fight between Mori and Dewi, but says there's nothing to worry about. Jujok John is again another somewhat rival to Tech Jegal. Jujok is a mage or magician and the grandson of Jess and John, who's a member of the Six. Tech Jegal has 2 fights with him. The first one was an official match during the GOH, and the second one was unofficial, when Tech was attacked by Jujok. Tech won the first fight pretty easily, but had a harder time during the second fight, when Jujok transforms after being given Tam by Nox Bishop Mandok Sang, and not being able to handle it unlike Tech Jegal. The reason why Tech Jegal is able to handle it while Jujok isn't is pretty clear. It's because of his nature as well as because of the spoiler I mentioned, both of which are covered in Fact 1. It's possible that Nox Bishop Mandok Sang had an eye out for both Tech Jegal and Jujok John in order to test Tam, knowing who they both are. Even though I said Tech Jegal had a hard time versus Jujok during the second fight, he does end up killing Jujok during the second fight, which leads to Jess and John getting pissed off and wanting to see Tech Jegal. Mujin Park is the one to stop Jess and John from doing anything, but it makes you wonder, what would have happened if Mujin didn't stop Jason? In the process of killing Jujok, Tech Jegal also seemingly accidentally chops off Sunga Park's foot and a couple of Hyunbok Ryo's fingers, so we know he couldn't care less about it happening. Tech also has his 2 teammates from the national competition, Borama and Bekote. Both of them seem to fear him and so listen to whatever he says. Tech doesn't seem very close to either of them and actually eats Bekote after the GOH is over. Fact number 4. Tech Jegal has 3 different transformations during the series, in terms of webtoon anyway. The anime skips the second one and goes straight to the last one. The first one is when he beats Ilpio Park during the GOH. Tech gets bitten by Tam Avarice and his GP shoots up to 1950. This is when he rips off Executive X's arm and then even takes out Ilpio Park. At this point, it is said that Tech is nearly as strong as an executive. The second transformation he goes through is when he attempts to absorb Ilpio's ki for the second time, and he does so successfully. In this form, he has a long dark blue hair and you can't see Tam on his body anymore. However, even in this form, Tech gets easily beaten by Mori in his Monkey King form. Mori one-shots him with his pole. That's when he absorbs the Angelus who are around him, and he goes into his final form, which has white wings, long red horns and a third eye. In the anime version of this form, Tech turns into a baby during the transformation. Tech Jegal is definitely very strong in this form, though that being said, he's still easily beaten by Monkey King Mori while in that form. Fact number 5. There's a few differences between Tech in the anime and the webtoon. I'll touch on a couple. First of all, there's his motive. In the anime, Tech Jegal has a clear intent to take the key and even cooperates with Nox in order to gain information on it. Everything he done was for the sake of getting the key in order to gain its powers. However, in the webtoon, he didn't have such a clear motive. He cooperates with Nox kind of on a whim, with the general idea of gaining power. Later, during the GOH tournament, he comes across the key for the first time, and because he notices that everyone is crazy about the key, he decides he wants to keep it for himself. He's intrigued and he doesn't want to lose out and he wants to be the winner. Later on, he gains a second reason to take the key, and that's because of Ilpio. The first time Tech tried to absorb the key, he fails when Tam vomits out the key. After that, he thinks to himself that he wasn't strong enough to hold the key, but Ilpio was. That's when he eats his teammate, Bekote, thinking his added strength can allow Tech to properly absorb the key, and he's right about that, because when he tries again after that, he's able to absorb the key. Anyway, what do you guys think? Did you notice these interesting details about Tech Jegal? What's your favorite fact about Tech Jegal? What are some other interesting facts that I didn't include? This is Anime Talks 101, so let's talk about it. Comment down below, I wanna know your thoughts.